Hi, everybody. My name is Anita Loos. I'm an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator, and I'm here again with my good friend, Dr. Anthony Meadows. And watch, Anthony.
That is really funny. Oh, I love it. I love it. Now we just got to get the silver curtains and to dance a little bit in the background.
Oh my goodness, especially for you. I looked this up. So welcome, Anthony.
Thanks for having me.
So,
and the price is right.
Yeah, totally. The price is
awesome.
right. Yeah. So we're going to have a conversation about ASB, Anthony's synthesis of being. Like what I was wondering about with the ASB, is that like an energy that you have always known, not maybe as ASB, but always have known to be something that you had access to?
That's a really great question. That's a really great question. The first part of that question is it's an energy that I always bead. I know that's not grammatically correct, but however, I didn't know I was being it. And it really took, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, to sort of discover it, so to speak. It was 5 years ago, and he had asked me to work on him. And by trade, I'm a chiropractor, a holistic chiropractor, and I've done a lot of different techniques over the last 20 years, and been working on bodies as a personal trainer before that. And so bodies was always my thing. So when he asked me to work on his body after class, I was, from my mind, I thought he was just wanting some, like myofascial work or chiropractic care. But at the same time, I'm like, something doesn't seem right. I don't think he's asking me to do what I normally do as a profession. And so he started talking to me. He's like, just ask my body to change. And I'm like, what do you mean? After I got to throw away 15 years of education about how to heal somebody naturally with my hands? And he's like, yeah, just ask my body to change. So I was like, at one point I'm like, okay. So I just placed my hands on his body, and I just got like really present. I didn't really do anything. I didn't think anything. I was just being me, right? In quite fact, I'm like, I was like, oh my God, like, I don't really know what to do for this guy, right? And it was like, boom, his body sort of like jumped like 3 or 4 inches off the table. And he's like, whoa, he's like, you just shot a lightning bolt through my body. And I was like, whoa, are you okay? He goes, yeah. He goes, that was awesome. He's like, hey, you have a capacity very similar to his partner, Dr. Dain Heer, who created ESB, Energetic Synthesis of Being, and the Symphony of Possibilities. And I was like, what? So when you asked the question, did I know I had this ability? No. But what I did know was that there was something else that was possible for human beings to get to. Like, there was a space that was possible for human beings to get to energetically. I always knew that there was something more than what we have been presented with in this reality, in terms of just life and living and health. And it's not necessarily about eating right or exercising right. I've had gurus, okay? I have fasted. I did yoga. I've done breath work. I've done rebirthing, you name it, chakra healing. I've done so many different things. And the tools of Access Consciousness have literally chipped away and dissolved and removed those areas where I still were stuck and limited, where no other modality, book, mentor, or guru have been able to get to, or psychiatrist or psychologist, because I've done it all, like I said. And so that's a very long answer to your question. So I always knew something else was possible. I didn't know that I had that in me per se, there was a desire, there was a hunger for sure, but it didn't really, and even that day when he's like, hey, you have this capacity, you have this gift, I was like, I do, and but it was amazing because in that time, I was literally functioning from the space that I had never functioned from before as a healer or as a chiropractor. It was a completely different level, completely different universe. I don't know how I got there. I don't know what I did, but knowing what I know now, a lot of it had to do with Gary Douglas. A lot of it had to do with Dr. Dain Heer. We had just finished a choice of possibilities class. So it's like you're sort of like in that energy of it. And I'll never forget, Gary called me because he knew I was sort of like taken back by the whole experience. And he's like, called me next day. He's like, how you doing? And I'm like, my jaw is still on the floor. He's like, why? He's like, because I felt like I was functioning from this whole other world,
Yeah.
where like the colors were brighter. My sense of touch was even more sensitive. You know what I mean? It was like everything was just different and more vibrant, magnificent, powerful, potent. And it was amazing. It was like whatever you had concluded were your limitations, your faults, your insecurities, your problems, the traumas you've been through. It was like none of that existed in that space. None of it.
Cool. And was that space available for you from then on, or did you kind of like sometimes lose it, get back to it? What
Yeah,
was the,
that's an awesome question. That's an awesome question. So when they invited me to start doing sessions and to work on them, after class, again, I was fighting the demons of my own head, right? So, because I'm like, why are they asking me, And what's interesting about the classes in Access Consciousness is probably like 85% of it is women, and it's not a very large group of men. So when they first invited me to do this, and I just thought they were trying to make me feel good to try to get more guys to come back to
yeah,
class. So, I had to fight a lot of my own insecurities and demons. Like, why are they saying this to me? Who am I? And so, but the one thing I did know is it matched the energy of that knowing of what else is possible beyond this reality as a healer and just living life in general since I was a kid. And Gary even said that. He said that to me that day. He goes, this is the moment you've been waiting for your whole life, And I'm
yeah.
like, how does he know that? And he's very incredibly psychic. And um, so yeah, there were a lot of times where I would go into my head about it because I kept saying, how do I get back to that day? How do I get back to that day? And it's not about getting to that day. What the question you really want to ask is, how do you outcreate that day? Right?
Yeah.
Because again, knowing what I know now, but I didn't know then, is that there is no limitation. There is no ceiling. Energy is energy. I mean, it really is infinite. And so, and the good part is I didn't quit. I knew there'd be a lot of judgments projected at me with regards to it for many, many different reasons. But because of everything I had been through personally up until that point, and because it was something that resonated with my very being since I was a child, I'm like, I don't care who judges me. I don't care who tries to destroy me or slow me down. I'm doing this. And I don't care if I'm jumping off the cliff, and if I, fall, flat on my face, so be it, but I'm going for it. And so when I would go do it, and I'm like, I don't know if this is working, because I started working on other people. I came back home and I took a bunch of patients that I knew that would be open-minded to it. And I would work on 3 people at the same time. And I set up like 3 hours of groups of 3, and I would work on 3 people at the same time. And these were people who have no background in energy work or energy experience. None of them really took any access consciousness classes. And literally when they were done with the session, they're like, what happened? Where am I? And they would explain it in their own adorable ways that they would. And I was like, and I needed to have that to sort of like validate what they said,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I'm like, I was struggling. I'm like, who the hell am I? All of a sudden now this my
Right.
life is becoming magnificent, you mean?
Yeah. Well, and
And so, yeah.
don't we all have that? Like we look for some validation or something, and then also like the ASB energies that you are playing with, isn't that like that's your potency, right? That's your capacity. That's something that we all are like kind of like looking for. Although you were not looking for it, it just, you know.
Yeah, well, I wasn't I wasn't looking for that specific moment
No.
to show up, but the energy of it
Mhm.
is definitely something that I've been looking for my entire life. I mean, that's why I went to chiropractic school, because I thought somehow chiropractic was going to provide me with that energetic world of possibilities. And I know it does for a lot of other chiropractors. It just didn't quite do it for me. And I had been looking for guys like Gary Douglas and Dr. Dain Heer to sort of mentor me, even from when I graduated chiropractic school. And it's funny because Dr. Dain Heer and Gary had sort of met each other right around the same time I was graduating chiropractic school, but they got together on the West Coast. I was on the East Coast. And it took about 15 years for me to finally find it, but it matched the energy. But we all, the guys called it ASB for Anthony Synthesis of Being. And that's just the acronym for it. And it comes from the world of ESB, Energetic Synthesis of Being, which, Dr. Dain here created. And he had a very similar experience that I did when he met Gary. And then he developed this amazing body of work of ESB and then Symphony of Possibilities, where we all get to learn it in a workshop. Like we learn how to play with these energies and create possibilities for people's bodies and their beings. And so, uh, he, Gary has, in the tools of access, have changed my life so dynamically. And then working with Dain too over these last 5 years with the ESB universe, and him actually working on me as well. I mean, he would get to places in my universe where I was like insane, just limited, insecure, and just the energy of the sessions would destroy those limitations. When I would get off the table, I was like, something profound has happened to me. I don't know what it means. I don't know what my future is going to look like, but all I know is I am different. And I'm really eternally grateful for um, not only the tools of access consciousness, but the way that they were able to sort of like mentor me, but the beautiful work of the ESB universe and what that actually created for my body and my being. And the beautiful thing about it is we're all energetic beings, okay? We're all acoustical beings, and we all have the ability to play in this energetic world of possibility. And really we're trying to talk about energies that are really undefined. I know science, well, maybe not traditional science, but the world of quantum physics and all that stuff, they're starting to put names to things that we've been experiencing for years and years and years. But it's like, to me, it's even beyond that. But the guys do a wonderful job of trying to at least put some sort of wrapping around this so that we could at least sort of identify it. But it's like, it's just one of those things you have to experience, you know what I mean? And when you experience, it's something it's yours forever, and nobody could ever take it away from you.
No, and why I was asking the potency and the capacity that people are looking for, because we are all, well, at least when I look at myself, I always knew there was something more possible, whatever that is, because I don't know what that is. Well, from when I started with Access and the tools, there's also already so much changed.
Yeah.
That's also, when I look at you, that's also for you when you like discovered the ASB energy and the space that you function from when you are playing with these energies. That's like totally different than when you started with Access Consciousness, but you probably always knew there was something possible, that it was
Yeah.
this.
Well, that's
Didn't.
why I did the 1,001 different techniques
But
and modalities out there,
yeah.
because I knew that there was something else. I couldn't find it. couldn't get there. And I had a lot of great mentors. I had a lot of great mentors along the way. But most of what I learned was information. Everything that I learned was knowledge, and I could sit down with all the metaphysicians of the world and energy healers and have a great conversation, but nowhere was I bearing the fruit of the knowledge that I had learned. I read the law of attraction books. I watched all the documentaries, you know, you know, and you know what? And for other people, all that stuff worked. It didn't work for me.
No.
And after my wife passed away, the children's mother, due to suicide and mental illness, and I was literally left on my knees like, okay, God, it's like, I don't get it. For someone who's been, trying to be spiritually right with all these different religions and philosophies and metaphysics and all these different techniques and modality, I get she was sane and stable for so many years without drugs, but in the end, she lost the fight, right? And so I'm like, and aside from that tragedy, I had to look at my life, right? I'm like, am I pleased with where I am? Am I pleased with where I am as a healer? Am I pleased with where I am as a father, financially? And I'm like, man, for someone who's done all this self-help stuff, I got nothing to show for it, like zero. But while still knowing that there's something greater out there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I was so fed up with techniques. I was so fed up with mentors and gurus and pastors and preachers, whatever. I was like, I'm done listening to other people from the pulpit. I'm like, but there's got to be something out there that can get to those places where you're stuck. And no matter how many books you read, no matter how many therapists you talk to, no matter how much you dig into your subconscious mind and turn over every rock and say, here, help me. None of that changed anything. So I'm like, maybe there's something beyond that where we may be stuck and limited. I'm like, God, universe, show me a modality, even though I'm fed up with modalities. And then along like about 9 months later is when I learned about the bars, which is like the first place you start and access consciousness with, it deals with these 32 points on your head that carry these electromagnetic components of all your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, considerations about money, healing, sadness, joy, aging. I mean, you name it. And so I was like, this sounds interesting, and so, but again, I went and investigated sort of with almost a negative, I was fed up. So I brought the kids. I'm like, I'll bring the kids. I'm a lost cause. I'll bring the kids. The kids absolutely loved it. The ease that it created for them, the joy and the laughter, the very first class we went to, I didn't really notice a thing because it was hard for me to receive it. I had so many questions and I had so much doubt. And I was still hurting. I was only 9 months after their mom died. And then sure enough, my third class, 2 months later, I received a session and I was like, literally I felt my whole brain rearranging. And I was like, okay, there's definitely something to this work. And, that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's changed my life. I don't have a chiropractic practice anymore. I'm still a licensed chiropractor, but the work was undeniable. The work is undeniable. I could not deny the results that I was receiving. I couldn't deny the universes upon universes that I'd been exposed to and became aware of. And it's something that's available for everyone. It's not just the select few. And you talk about these energies that you're aware of. Yeah, these things are available for you as well. And you bring your own flavor to the whole mix because you're you, right?
Yeah.
You have your own unique energies. And that's what I love about ESB or ESB, SOP, and the ASB work that I do. And in the body processes and the bars, because it has this way of facilitating you to access your unique energies that only you have.
Yeah.
And you can contribute that to the world, not just people, but to our beautiful planet.
Yeah.
To our beautiful planet.
And most of us think that would be too much for us, but you know what? You're still here. You're playing with ASB.
Yeah.
You are even having a specialty class about it, like the taste of ASB. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What is the class A Taste of ASB?
Yeah, well, again, the ASB is just an acronym for Anthony Synthesis of Being, and it's
Yeah.
really, and Gary Douglas and Dr. Dain Heer, the founders and co-creator of Access Consciousness, they, approved for me to be able to do this taster class, and it really is just, it's an invitation and an opportunity for me to invite people into this world of possibilities that I've been exposed to. And we're using the tools of access consciousness, we're using the tools of energetic synthesis of being and symphony of possibilities. And it's like the gift that the tools of access consciousness have been to me, the gift that Gary Douglas and Dr. Dain Heer have been to me, I would like to be that gift for others. And that's something that's always been my driving sort of source in my life, is that even as a chiropractor, I noticed that so much of what the struggles that people were having with their bodies, so much of that was them not just like being them, like a lot of repressed abilities and capacities and potencies, and people not acknowledging their power and their gifts, that the gifts that they are in the world. And so, to me, ASB is an invitation for you to discover those gifts and capacity. For me, it was a discovery for the first time.
Yeah.
Some of you may know what your gifts and capacities are, but you're not quite, actualizing them, so to speak. And it creates a sense of space. So whatever you thought was limiting you before, it has no hold on you anymore. It creates a sense of communion with the body and the being, because so many people are living outside their bodies. And a lot of people have had abuse, whether it be physical or mental abuse. And to me, as you work with these tools, it begins to dissolve all these places that have sort of like kept you in this little like cocoon of non-actualization. And so what is the class going to look like? Every class is so different, as you know. And it's like, when people, it's all dependent upon the people who come to the class, right? And so it's really just energy. So there's no format, there's no particular formula. And all it is really just an invitation for you to have more of you, and for you to no longer be at the effect of your past, to create more space, more communion between you, the being, and your body.
Yeah, and explore the capacities that we might have hidden. Is that what
Not might. Well, some of you do have them hidden, but we all have the capacities.
Yeah.
And there's ones you don't even know about. And that's what happened to me. I had no idea that, I knew I was a great hands-on healer. I had no idea I could work on people's bodies from 10 feet away.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I got a question from somebody in my messenger that she asked me if she would learn the techniques of ASB, and I'm like, well, maybe you can explain. Is she going to learn the techniques of ASB?
Well, this class is a taster, so it's sort of like an introduction into this world of greater possibilities. So, if she's wanting to learn more of that sort of thing, that's something that she'll learn actually in the Symphony of Possibilities class with Dain. So, it's not necessarily going to be an instructional video, but or video or an instructional class, but I will be calling up people, even though it's going to be all online this time, but I'll have some people here in my home, like family members, that I'll get to actually work on. But you don't have to be in person with this person. I've been doing sessions from a distance, like the way you and I are communicating, for 5 years as well. So yeah, we will be doing sessions, but it'll be me doing the session, not the people working on each other. That's something that you'll eventually learn in the Symphony of Possibilities with Dr. Dain.
Yeah. Okay, great. So my last question for you. What would you like to choose now that now that the Taste of ASB has become available for you? What is it that you want to go to?
Yeah, well, oh goodness.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with Dain, you know, and it's like sometimes, okay, what's been beautiful about Access is not too long, 6 months ago, I realized that everything I had always desired in my life, from relationship to sex to money to the size of my home, um, traveling around the world, I'm like, wow, I'm actualizing all of it,
Yeah.
everything. And I kind of had a panic attack, and I'm like, oh my God, is my life over? Is my life complete? Right? So I kind of felt like I was dying. I'm like, am I going to die tomorrow? I felt like I finished my life, you know?
Yeah.
And because of these worlds of infinite possibilities and these energetic worlds of undefined energies have that I've become aware of, I look at my life and I'm like, this is nothing compared to those worlds, right? And
Yeah.
it's truly like, what else is possible? So, so to answer your question, it's like, I can't give you a specific thing because it truly is infinite, right? And Dane's like, you'll know once you start to facilitate these classes because it is a different energy, and things will start to come up that maybe haven't come up when you're doing your private sessions or group sessions, or maybe even facilitating a foundation class or the body classes or whatever. You know, and you'll start to know, and we'll be able to talk and ask questions around that. So it's like, I won't know until I start doing it. But what I can say is that one of my targets with it, is not only to create the space where people have more of a sense of themselves, but in working with people with these energies is to actually create a greater sustainable future for our beautiful planet that we live on.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank
So
you.
somehow the planet is involved in all of this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How, I have no idea, but that's something that's pulling and tugging on me a lot lately,
Yeah.
especially with everything we're going through with this whole COVID-19 situation. That, you know, things need to change. We need to change as human beings globally and internationally, and so many different respects, and how we treat our beautiful planet that we get to live on. And my target with all these tools of access consciousness is to be able to leave this beautiful planet behind to my children and my grandchildren and my great great children in better shape than when I arrived.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, thank you, Anthony, for this interview. And for everybody out there, the Taste of ASB is coming up the 31st of May. If you're interested, I will put the link on there on it. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Look forward to playing. Bye.